Kindness is a strange thing. You can offer it once and forget it by sunset, but the person who received it carries it like a heartbeat. A meal, a rescue, a moment of mercy, they don't disappear. They wait in the quiet corners of life, echoing until the day they return, sometimes at the exact moment your life depends on it. Jason Statham never expected his past to find him again, not after walking away from the Navy SEALs, not after rescuing a terrified little girl on a mission he thought he'd left in the dust. All he wanted now was peace, a drink, a slow morning, the calm comfort of an open-air diner. But that morning, peace shattered. A homeless girl came sprinting toward him, barefoot and shaking, her voice cutting through the street as she screamed. "Don't drink that." The bottle froze inches from his lips. And in that suspended second, the moment her eyes met his, Jason Statham understood something that made his blood go cold. Before we continue, thank you so much for watching and supporting these stories. If you enjoy emotional, cinematic narratives filled with mystery, real human courage, and the kind of twists that stay with you long after the story ends, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Your support truly helps us bring more powerful tales to life. Now, let's get back to it. Some places become routines without you noticing. A booth you sit in without thinking. A cup of coffee you order before the waitress even asks. A space in the world where life finally feels quiet enough to breathe. For Jason Statham, that place was Marlo's Diner, a small brick building on the edge of town with a faded open sign and the soft hiss of a grill that never truly rested. He didn't choose it for the food. He didn't choose it for the view. He chose it because it was ordinary, and after 15 years in the Navy SEALs, ordinary was the rarest luxury. 3 weeks earlier, he had handed in his retirement papers. No ceremony, no speeches, just a quiet signature, a firm handshake, and a silent walk out of the base he had once called home. He'd made his money, he'd earned his peace, and now all he wanted was stillness. Golf in the mornings, breakfast at the diner after, silence for the rest of the day. No missions, no danger, no secrets. But peace rarely respects the people who need it most. Jason took his usual seat outside, under the green awning that flapped lazily in the morning breeze. The waitress, a friendly woman named Helen, nodded as she brought him his usual, a bottle of local brew he liked to sip before heading to the range. "Rough night?" she asked with a smile. Jason gave a small shrug. "Long dreams." She laughed and left him to it. He leaned back, letting the sun warm his face. This was the life he thought he wanted, quiet, predictable, safe. His body knew how to relax, but his mind, it had never learned. Even now, his eyes scanned the street, catching details most people missed. A stray dog sniffing through trash bins. A man unloading boxes from a truck. Cars rolling through the intersection. Nothing unusual. And then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw her. The homeless girl. She'd been around the diner for months, always keeping her distance, always watching the world with those cautious, wide-set eyes. Kids on the streets aged differently, faster, sharper, like every day carved a new line into them. Jason had seen it too many times overseas. She couldn't be more than 12. He'd given her a few meals over the last couple weeks, nothing dramatic, a sandwich, a hot chocolate, a quiet nod. He never asked for her story. Kids didn't owe the world their trauma. But today, something about her was different. Her breathing was uneven. Her steps were frantic. She scanned the street like she was running from ghosts. Jason lifted the bottle to his lips. And that's when she screamed, "Don't drink THAT." Her voice tore through the quiet morning like glass shattering. Jason froze. The bottle hung inches from his mouth. And in that suspended second, his instincts slammed back into place. Danger. Real, immediate, close. The girl stumbled to a stop beside him, grabbing the edge of the metal table, her chest heaving as she tried to speak. Her hands shook, not from cold, not from hunger, but from pure terror. "Please, please don't drink it," she whispered, voice cracking. They put something in it." Jason's expression didn't change, not outwardly, but inside a familiar switch flipped. Calm turned into calculation. Stillness turned into awareness. Peace turned into purpose. He set the bottle down gently, the glass clinking against metal. "Start from the beginning," he said quietly. The girl swallowed hard, tears welled in her eyes. I didn't know it was for you. I thought it was for someone else. They've been doing it for months, always upstairs, every night at 9. Her words came out in a desperate rush. "I hear their meetings, I see them leave at 1 in the morning. They talk about people who go missing after. I tried telling the police, but no one listens to a homeless girl. No one believes me." Jason felt something tighten in his chest, something old, heavy, and unshakable, a shadow from a mission he never forgot. The girl continued, her fingers gripping his sleeve. "But last night I heard your name." He stilled completely. "My name." She nodded furiously. "They said it twice. I thought maybe it was someone else, but then today I heard you on the phone. The waitress called you by your name, and I realized it was you. You're the one they want." Jason blinked once, slowly processing, analyzing, filtering. Her terror wasn't exaggerated. Her panic wasn't performed. She was telling the truth. And yet, it didn't explain how she knew him, or why she would risk running across the street to stop him, or why her voice carried something deeper, something personal. He studied her face. There was something familiar in her eyes, a flash of recognition he didn't understand yet. "What's your name?" he asked calmly. She hesitated, as children of the streets always do. "Mila." He nodded once. "All right, Mila, tell me what you heard." But before she could speak, she went pale, eyes widening as she looked past Jason, toward the diner's glass door. Jason didn't turn, didn't flinch, didn't move. Instead, he watched her reaction. Her breathing hitched. Her fingers tightened around the sleeve of his jacket. Her lips parted in trembling fear. "They're here," she whispered. And then Jason knew. This wasn't random. This wasn't a warning. This wasn't coincidence. This was an assassination attempt. And he had walked straight into it. 20 minutes earlier, if someone had asked Jasonstatham about his last mission, he would have shrugged it off like a forgotten memory. A 6-month operation in a remote compound. A trafficker network so brutal it made headlines across 3 countries. And among the dozens of victims rescued that day, a little girl with the same eyes, the same trembling voice, the same terror. A girl he had lifted into the helicopter with shaking arms. A girl who had clung to him like he was the last safe thing in the world. A girl he promised would never suffer again. He never asked her name. He never knew what happened to her afterward. Until now. "Mila," he said quietly, turning back toward her, "you were on that mission, weren't you?" Her lip trembled. "You saved me," she whispered. "You don't remember, but I never forgot." 1,000 memories slammed into place. The frightened child hiding behind a crate. The terrified eyes looking up at him. The tiny voice whispering, "Are we really safe now?" So many rescue, so many faces, but hers now he remembered. And she had come back for him. Kindness echoing through time in the most impossible moment. Jason stood up slowly. Inside the diner, he could see silhouettes moving through the frosted glass. A shadow paused at the doorway, the outline too deliberate to be a customer, too rigid to be casual. Someone was waiting. Someone who had put something dangerous into his drink. Someone who had been told Jasonstatham was a threat. Someone who didn't know he wasn't a soldier anymore. But Jason also knew something they didn't. He might have retired from the Navy SEALs. But the instincts never retire. He grabbed Mila gently by the shoulders. "Listen to me," he said quietly. "I need you to tell me everything. From the first night you noticed something strange, every detail." She nodded, tears still streaming. "It started months ago," she whispered shakily. "Every night the diner closes early, but the lights upstairs turn on. I sleep near the dumpster behind the alley so I can hear everything." Jason's jaw clenched. "What do they talk about?" Her voice dropped almost to a whisper. "People, always people. Names I don't understand, until I hear those same names on missing posters, on the news." The wind shifted, the diner door creaked. A shadow stepped closer. Mila continued, trembling harder now. "Last night was the first time I heard your name. They said you got too close. They said you were on the list." Jason's eyes sharpened. He had no idea why. He had no idea how. But he believed her. And then she added the words that chilled him. "And this morning, they said you wouldn't leave the diner alive." Jason lifted her chin gently so she could meet his eyes. "Mila, you did the bravest thing anyone could have done today." She sniffed. "I didn't know if you believe me." "I do," he said simply, "because you're telling the truth." Inside, the silhouettes shifted again. Voices murmured. Footsteps approached. The situation was seconds away from breaking open. Jason moved subtly, placing himself between Mila and the diner door. "Stay behind me," he murmured. Mila's small hands clutched the back of his jacket. Jason's breathing slowed. His stance shifted. His mind clicked back into the calm focus of a man built for storms. He didn't know what was coming. But he knew this. Someone upstairs had planned this. Someone had poisoned his drink. Someone had been watching him for weeks. And someone was about to regret underestimating a retired Navy SEAL. Just as the diner door started to open, Mila tugged on his sleeve urgently. "Jason, I didn't tell you everything." He glanced down. "What is it?" Her voice trembled like a breaking branch. "The reason they want you gone, it isn't random." Jason's eyes narrowed. "Explain." Mila swallowed hard, then whispered. "You didn't just save me on that mission. You ruined something they built, and the man who runs this diner, he was one of them." The door swung open behind him. The diner door creaked open with the slow, deliberate tension of a horror movie, even though the sun was still high in the sky. Jason didn't turn around right away. Instinct told him not to. The girl's tiny hands curled tighter into the back of his jacket, her breath catching every few seconds, like her fear had nowhere left to hide. A shadow stretched across the ground beside him, tall, thick shoulders, a heavy stride. "Morning," a voice said. It was calm, too calm, the kind of calm that didn't belong to a man walking out of a peaceful diner. Jason didn't answer. He watched the man's reflection in the metal napkin dispenser on the patio table. A man in a dark denim jacket. Black gloves. A too-easy smile. And eyes that weren't smiling at all. "Nice day for a drink," the man added, nodding at the unopened bottle still sitting on Jason's table. Jason's heartbeat didn't change. His breathing didn't change. His posture didn't change. But inside, every alarm bell was ringing. Because the bottle wasn't unopened. It had been tampered with. Jason saw it now, the faintest sliver of broken seal, the subtle cloudiness at the neck of the glass. A civilian wouldn't have noticed. But a SEAL did. Mila's grip slipped lower. She hid behind him entirely. "You dropped this earlier," the man added, lifting something between two fingers. A bottle cap. Jason never dropped it. Jason finally turned his head, just enough to look at him from the corner of his eye. "I didn't order anything yet," he said, voice completely even. The man's smile didn't falter. "Oh, I think you did." He stepped forward too close, too casual, and placed the bottle cap on the table. Jason's hand gently shifted behind him, touching Mila's arm in a silent message. "Stay still." The denim jacket man leaned in a little. "You come here often," he said lightly, "but today might not be your day." Jason didn't blink. "Funny, I was about to say the same thing to you." The man's jaw tightened a millimeter, just enough to confirm what Jason already knew. This wasn't some local thug. This wasn't a drunk. This wasn't random. This was a messenger. A man sent to watch Jason drink what wasn't meant to keep him alive. Jason turned his head fully now, meeting the man's eyes. "Why don't you tell me who you work for?" Jason said softly. "Before you make a mistake you can't take back." The man smirked. "I work for the diner." Jason's gaze sharpened. "Try again." Something in the man's expression cracked, only for a second. "All right," he said, voice dropping lower. "I'll tell you this much. You weren't supposed to retire, not yet, and your last mission." He leaned closer. "It messed up something big." Jason felt Mila flinch. "Mila," he said quietly, "go stand behind that column, stay low." The man's eyes flicked to her. "She shouldn't be here." Jason's stare hardened. "And you shouldn't say another word." The man's hand twitched, not toward a weapon, not yet, but toward his jacket pocket. Jason moved first. Not violently. Not aggressively. Just decisive. He grabbed the man's wrist mid-motion, twisted, and pinned it to the table. The denim jacket man let out a small gasp. "Try again," Jason said. The man clenched his teeth. "You can hurt me, doesn't matter, he'll know." "Who?" "The one upstairs," the man whispered. "The one you burned 6 months ago." And suddenly, the pieces snapped together. A trafficker compound. A raid that freed dozens of victims. A shadowy figure whose face Jason never saw because he escaped before the team reached him. And now, he had a new base. A diner. A diner that closed at 8 p.m. Held meetings at 9. Released men at 1 a.m. And erased people off the map. Jason's jaw clenched. "Where is he now?" Jason asked. The man actually laughed. "You think I'd tell you?" Jason tightened his grip. The man winced. "Upstairs?" Jason asked. The man stopped laughing. And that was enough answer. Jason released him abruptly, stepping back. The denim jacket man rubbed his wrist. "You're making a mistake. You should have just had the drink." "I prefer my drinks without poison," Jason said calmly. The man stiffened. Jason took Mila's hand gently. "Come on." But the moment he moved, 2 more men stepped out of the diner, both heavy-set, both wearing the same black gloves. Mila gasped. That's them from the meetings." Jason squeezed her hand once. "Stay behind me." The first man blocked their path. "You're not going anywhere, Statham." Jason sighed softly, almost disappointed. "You boys really want to do this in public?" One of the men laughed. "Public, look around." And Jason did. The street was empty. Too empty. Cars that should have been parked along the curb were gone. Pedestrians who normally walked past the diner were absent. Even the truck unloading boxes had disappeared. Someone had cleared the area. Jason exhaled slowly. "Well," he murmured, "that answers that." The first man smirked. He said, "You be calm, good, makes it easier." Jason positioned his body slightly sideways, protective stance, blocking Mila from all angles. "You're going to step aside," one of the men ordered, "and the girl is coming with us." Jason's voice dropped to a tone colder than steel. "The girl," he said, "is not going anywhere with you." The denim jacket man nodded to the others. "Take her." They moved. Fast. But Jason moved faster. The first grabber lunged, but Jason sidestepped, hooking his arm and throwing him into a metal chair so hard it folded in half like cardboard. The impact rattled the entire patio. The second man swung at Jason, with a baton he'd hidden at his back. Jason ducked, caught the man's wrist, twisted it sharply, and kicked the baton out of his hand. It skittered across the patio tiles. The denim jacket man cursed and charged forward, aiming straight for Mila. Jason's voice cut through the chaos. "Mila down." She dropped instantly. Jason stepped forward and met the charging man in one precise motion, slamming his elbow into the man's sternum with enough force to knock the breath out of him. The man crumpled. Jason didn't hit them again. He didn't have to. Because all 3 men stopped fighting. Not because they were down. Not because they were afraid. But because the diner's front door opened again. And he walked out. The man Mila had overheard. The man behind the diner's double life. The man who had ordered Jason's drink to be poisoned. A tall, slim figure. Slick back hair. A sharp suit. Hands in his pockets like he owned the street. Mila whispered, barely audible. "That's him." Jason's eyes narrowed. "You," the man said smoothly, "are causing a scene." Jason didn't respond. The man stepped forward, smiling as if greeting an old friend. Jasonstatham, retired Navy SEAL, decorated multiple times, hero of the Ardelian raid. He tilted his head. You have no idea how long I've wanted to meet you." Jason said nothing. The man's smile widened. "You cost me millions when you shut down my operation overseas. Half my network collapsed because of one mission, one night." His eyes sharpened. "And now here you are, sitting in my diner, drinking my beer, thinking your retirement would last." Mila trembled behind Jason. Jason spoke calmly. "You come near her again and—" "Oh, don't be dramatic," the man interrupted. "We don't want her, we want you." "And the poison." The man smirked, an easy way to close a difficult chapter. Jason stepped forward. "What do you want from me?" The man shrugged. "Revenge, balance, a message to everyone who thinks they can touch my business and walk away." He turned slightly, nodding to the men Jason had taken down. "Bring him." Jason tensed. They reached for him. Jason prepared to take all three down again. But then Mila screamed, because the man in the suit had grabbed her wrist and pressed a small blade against her arm. Jason froze. The man smiled softly. "There it is," he whispered, the look of a soldier trapped between two choices. Jason's jaw ticked, the only sign of emotion. "You're going to come with us," the man said, quietly, "or the girl bleeds out on the sidewalk." Mila whimpered. Jason lifted his hand slowly. "Stop." The trafficker leader raised an eyebrow. "Are you surrendering, Jason?" Jason nodded once. "Let her go," he said quietly, "and I'll walk upstairs with you." The man chuckled. "Good. That's the thing about men like you don't know how to abandon people." He leaned forward. "That's why you're predictable." Jason exhaled slowly, hiding the storm building behind his eyes. The man flicked a glance to his guards. "Grab him." They stepped forward. Jason didn't resist. "Not yet." Mila looked up at him, tears filling her eyes. "Jason, don't." "It's all right," he said softly. "I need you to run, find someone you trust." She shook her head violently. "No, I won't leave you." Jason leaned down slightly, just enough so she could see the calm strength in his face. "You already saved me once," he whispered. "Now you save yourself." The man tightened his grip on her wrist. "Enough talking." Jason's eyes locked on hers, steady, unshakable. "Mila," he said, voice low and certain, "run." And in that instant, that single heartbeat, she bolted. The suited leader cursed loudly, "Get her." But it was too late. Mila disappeared around the corner. Jason allowed himself a tiny breath of relief. And then a fist slammed into his jaw. He staggered but didn't fall. Another man grabbed him. Another blow. A knee to his ribs. A shove toward the diner door. Jason didn't fight back. Because if he did, they'd chase the girl. They dragged him inside, laughing, cursing, spitting threats. Jason let them. His eyes remained steady, locked on the stairs that led to the diner's second floor, the place Mila had seen lights for months. The trafficker leader walked behind him, satisfied. "You're going upstairs," he said, "to finish what you interrupted 6 months ago." Jason didn't respond. He didn't need to. Because as they dragged him toward the staircase, Jason saw something on the floor, tiny and familiar. Mila's bracelet. She had dropped it intentionally. A message. A breadcrumb trail. He walked up the stairs calmly, even as the men shoved him from behind. And just before disappearing into the darkness of the second-floor doorway, Jasonstatham whispered to himself, "Good girl, keep moving." Then the door slammed shut behind him. Darkness swallowed him whole.